I know you're thinking, Hal, how are we going to find stupid on the level of Glenn Beck? How are we going to match the idiocy that we were able to watch? Who in the world are, oh, hey, it's Fox and Friends. They were live as this stuff was going on because instead of having a real election desk, they just made the Fox and really early in the morning, I guess, get up earlier. Oh, love is a battlefield. We are strong. All right, I'm gonna scream. I can't do it too loud. My voice breaks when I try to pull my voice down because I don't want to scare the cats. All right. Anyways, this is the title of this one, and the reason I need to watch this. I need to watch this because Brian Kilmeade is over there, and he's looking very perturbed already. Look at his face. Ducey, I don't know, like he's had a moment. Maybe it's because his kid's being a shithead, and he's like is kind of mad at Fox for turning his son into a cult stooge. I think that might be the seed of Steve Ducey kind of coming around a couple of times and being a little, like having a reality check. This is titled, I'm Shocked. Fox and Friends reacts to election results. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Here we go. Oh, by the way,
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, my side lights weren't on, I realized, and it's aggravating. All right, here we go. Why do we watch them then? Because we want to see their reaction to reality. We don't get to see it very often because you have to understand the Fox and everybody at Fox, just like Glenn Beck's network, they are in the spin business. They are supposed to turn, whatever. They're supposed to bounce up the laptop story and other shit and make it float high enough where everybody doesn't realize it's a turd tied to a helium balloon and thinks, oh my God, that's a levitating turd. That's amazing. And so watching them have to deal with reality on occasion, kind of fun. Let's go.
The red wave has not materialized.
I like this clip already.
In the House yet, but you know where it did materialize? The great state of Florida.
Yeah, that's not a wave, dummy. That's one state. That's a governor. Doesn't affect my fucking life at all. Unless you live in Florida, who gives a shit? You know what's different today than yesterday? Nothing. DeSantis is still the fucking governor.
The cover of the New York Post says young GOP star DeSantis romps to victory in Florida. DeSantis is the future because...
Yeah, look what it says at the bottom. Plus, Hochul claims victory in New York. Kind of buried the lead, didn't they?
As it looks like he will win by about 20 points, which is extraordinary given the fact that back in 2018, he beat Gilliam by just 33,000. DeSantis won everywhere in the state, and in particular, in notable Democrat strongholds. And we've been talking about this...
And it's weird that he did this whole big redistricting thing. And, we'll just leave it. I'm not going to question it. Christ acknowledged the loss. DeSantis won. Don't give a shit.
Over the last week, in Miami-Dade County, which Joe Biden won by 85,000 points.
Oh, that's a lot of points. So is that how we're doing it? These aren't votes anymore. These are points. I see. So if I'm using your analogy or your, I guess, accidental idiocy, Steve, Biden beat Trump by 8 million points. Okay, cool.
Ron DeSantis will win by close to double digits.
It is now a ruby red state. DeSantis is welcoming anyone who wants to escape their liberal states. Conservatism just works there. There he is with his family last night.
Yeah, I mean, if you're downwind from a hurricane and there's a huge flood, I mean, you're kind of fucking on your own.
Once the nation's premier swing state back in 2000, then
Back in 2000.
George W. Bush won the presidency by a margin of just 500 votes. It's pretty.
No, he lost. in the actual count, it turned out that he lost. But his brother ran the place, and that was easy.
Be clear that Florida has shifted to red now. Florida does not have a single Democrat holding a statewide office. Here was his victory speech last night.
Good quality video.
After 4 years, the people have delivered their verdict. Freedom is here to stay.
Yes. Hold on. I just want to show you guys the freedom that he's talking about. Let's see. I think it was on Twitter. I have to see it. Man. This will be. Yeah. Say, naked man. Well, he's in a Speedo. Eating cheesecake in the middle of the Florida Everglades. And he's eating cheesecake, and a police boat rolls up, and like, hey man, what you doing? And he's like, eating cheesecake, and then he just fucks off. Bye. Oh God, I'm getting out of here. Yeah, freedom. The people. That is a hardcore DeSantis voter right there, ladies and gentlemen. And they're yelling 2 more years because they want him to run for president. By the way, I'm just enjoying this because I know Trump hates it. Is that too much to ask? I'm just saying.
We saw freedom in our very way of life and so many other jurisdictions in this country wither on the vine.
Did we? Because California's like the 5th largest economy on earth.
Florida held the line.
The line. All he's thinking is, I only have to do this for a year and a half. I only have to do this for a year and a half. I only have to do this.
We chose facts over fear. We chose education over indoctrination.
We chose prom queens over... No.
We chose law and order over rioting and disorder.
Wait a minute. Was that on the ballot? Because I mean, I wouldn't vote for rioting and disorder. I would vote for chaos and disorder. It's a very underrated Prince album. Chaos and disorder ruining my world again.
Florida was a refuge of sanity when the world went mad. We stood as a citadel of freedom for people across this country and indeed across the world.
No. No one is looking to Florida and go, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. We turn them over. Boom.
So the other thing to add in, another one who had a convincing victory despite zillions of dollars being spent against him was Marco Rubio. He was really strong. Val Demings.
Yeah, it's almost like there was sort of a weird lock on Florida politics. Quit. I'm leaving it alone. We're not going there, okay? We're just...
What?
It's important.
Law enforcement background, high-profile name, very good speaker, huge dollars behind them. But bottom line is, Marco Rubio is not vulnerable because he's done a very good job. He was basically the Secretary of State for the Central and South America under Trump.
Basically? Oh, that's right, because Trump couldn't form a cabinet to save his fucking life.
And then he was the mind behind the PPP loans. Well, the execution was...
Oh, you mean the billions of dollars in fraud? Well, I think we'll probably find out why he skated to victory then.
And you had to follow up to see who took advantage of the system.
Right. Yes, the system that he set up. It's not his fault. He didn't set up a system with safeguards. That's not what they were asking for.
It shows he acted under pressure.
Yeah. Doon 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 doon.
To get people money.
Pressure.
When they were forced to give up their jobs. So it does not surprise me. The other thing is that people constantly speculate. When you are unhappy with your state and you move to another state, are you going to take your politics with you? So far in Texas, the answer is no. And so...
No, so far in Texas, that's actually what's happening.
In Florida, the answer is no. But
Obviously, people coming from Cuba might be a different group.
just so it's a segmentation of America.
A segmentation.
However, if you look at what happened in New York with Lee Zeldin closing in tight on Kathy Hochul despite $50 billion in her coffers and outnumbering.
It's weird that 50. How much? How much money does she have? Wait a second.
Tight on Kathy Hochul despite $50 billion in her coffers.
That's a lot of money. Is that small dollar donors or everybody maxed out? Let's see. Hey, sorry.
I found some web results. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
Oh, you rat. Tell me. I didn't want it to go. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just going to do some quick math real quick. If I can. Let's see. Divided by, I think it's 2,500 is the max. We'll just assume it is. Yeah, so just 200,000 small dollar donors giving the max. That was, I mean, that's not hard. You can find 200,000 people in a state as big as New York giving you $50 billion, right? This is $25,000 a piece. Okay.
And outnumbering.
All you need is 2,500 billionaires.
Republicans 3-1. You see how many seats shifted. And right now, Zeldin's probably within 5 points. It might be out of reach for him. There's no been concession there.
No, there's no bin concession there. I agree. No one has conceded the bin.
You see there's some unhappiness. But I don't know about you.
Yeah, I saw there was a little unhappiness. Peter notices some unhappiness. She's noticed some unhappiness. It seems like she's having some of it right now.
You guys, I'm shocked there was a no red wave. If you think
I'm not.
about inflation, a 40-year high, crime the worst since the 1980s, the unpopular president with an agenda that's more green-oriented than people-oriented.
It's amazing. It's almost like Republicans are useless. I mean, how much of a thanks for bringing this up, Brian. How much of a fuck up do you have to be when you've got that much tailwind and you shit the rug that bad? I mean, you must suck. Republicans must be fucking terrible at this. I mean, really.
And evidently, Jen Psaki said last night, she called the White House and she says they are giddy on the results, which I think is premature.
Nope, turned out it wasn't.
Because they could lose both chambers still. And
nope.
One looks very much in Republican hands, although not officially there.
It's just clear that our country is completely divided now.
Are we? I mean, you have to be, otherwise your show has no meaning. Have you ever thought of joining the Blaze?
You're either very conservative or you're radical and you're progressive and you're...
No. No, you're not. And conservative is not the radical thing we're talking about with you guys. So I don't have a problem with conservative people. I was a Boy Scout. We conserved a lot of things. A lot of conservatives don't conserve shit, especially when it comes to land and water.
You're woke left. And the facts...
Yes, you're radical woke left and conservatives. That's the two big groups in the country. That's where we're divided.
Don't seem to matter here. Some of these individuals that won, when you look at their records, they are so extreme and so progressive.
Well, yeah, but Boebert lost, so I'm not really worried about her anymore.
People are just dug in. They're dug in really deep right now. And
Boy, are we.
And,
John Fetterman you're talking about?
Absolutely. He is.
Totally. Oh, my God. It's awful. You know what I mean? Like, have you seen his hoodie? It's nasty.
So extreme. Wants to open up a third of the prisons.
Doesn't frack.
He wants to... doesn't frack. He wants to open up a third of the prisons. Just randomly? Is there going to be a lottery? Or is he going to spin a fucking wheel? Or does he want to get anybody who has a nonviolent crime that's doing more than 10 years out of jail? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And lied about
it. Look, Steve tried to pipe in. It's not a third of the... He's not going to open a third of the jail. Fuck it. What am I doing?
How about Mandela Barnes? I mean, he wants to open 50% of the prisons.
Right. He's
running against Ron Johnson, but it's still tight. But how do you explain this country now, Brian, to your point? I mean,
Yeah, what are we doing here? Why don't we move to Russia? Fucking hell. Boebert's tied. All right.
Open
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Orders, record gas prices, inflation is the worst in 40
Right.
years. The president's approval ratings are so bad.
And yet, the Republicans got screwed into a cocked hat in an election year they should have run away with it. How bad do you have to be to fuck this up?
Worst crime since the 1980s, and yet
By the way, we had some awesome crime in the 1980s, and we were nowhere near the fucking 90s. Notice how they go worst crime since the 80s, because it's not like the 90s anymore. It's going back down, so they can't go worst crime, and it was technically it would be worst crime since the 90s, but crime hasn't been this bad if you use a particular point on the graph since the 80s, where it was like arcing up and then it went down.
I heard last night this is an indictment on the Republican Party.
Yep. Yeah, that's how I would look at it. I think they're guilty of being dumbasses.
Is it? I mean, how
Is it? How else can you even...
are these issues when our country is in such a bad state right now?
It's not. It's not. Everything being relative, it's not. Again, in Russia right now, a country that Trump thinks is run by someone who magically has it all together, there is a trend of people jumping out of windows. Fuel processing plants and warehouses are just catching fire. Some of it may be because of sabotage. Some of it just because of rampant fuck-uppery, because the people who know how to run shit have been sent to catch bullets in Ukraine for no fucking reason. We ain't got it that bad. We're not in Ukraine right now. Fuck, we're not even in Poland. We're not in Norway and Iceland and places where, like, Russians are running to, and you have to worry about whether or not they're going to incite shit there just to undermine NATO in a couple of years. Jesus Christ.
How is this not a red wave?
Well, you know, when you look at
Yes, you dressed for the wrong wave, darling.
how the Democrats,
And by the way, I mean, by darling, I mean Steve and Brian.
and Brian, to your point, I get why the White House would be giddy, because yesterday we were talking about, you looked at the polls.
Is this the part? I haven't watched this. Is this the part where he literally inverts the polling that they to the exit polls and finds out they flipped the numbers entirely and that it wasn't a fucking accident? And if he says crime is at 11%, because last week they were saying that abortion was at 11%.
And they suggested that there's going to be a gigantic red wave. There has been no red wave yet, but it's still too close to call regarding the Senate, and a bunch of House seats have not been called. So they lean to the right for the most part. They're leaning toward the Republicans.
Yeah, I feel better. Yeah. Brian feels better. She feels better. Everybody at Fox feels better.
But I think
Glenn's having a hard time at home, but
what was proven yesterday is America is more in the middle. And ultimately, well, there are a lot of people who are very strident in their politics, but they're the people in the middle who ultimately decided. If the Democrats were able to limit their losses through the issue of abortion, and I was looking over at the CNN exit polls, they said that...
Oh, this is it. This is it. I saw him. I saw the part about him saying this earlier today. I don't pre-watch these clips, but I think this is the moment.
27% of the voters in House races said that abortion was their number one issue, second only to inflation. And of those who cited abortion as their most important issue, 76% voted for the Democrat. Also, abortion voters sided with Democrats in favor of abortion rights in Michigan, California, and Vermont. So while we've been talking a lot...
Oh, no, I guess he doesn't get to it. He says later on that crime ranks at 11%. Think about how many ads you saw. Almost all of them, I would say, the vast majority of them, unless they were specific to a particular candidate that was like one big scandal that they had, it was either crime or abortion, right? Let me know. If you saw a shit ton of crime ads this cycle, that so much, most of the $16 billion that was spent, which apparently Kathy Hochul could have written a check for twice. Most of the $16 billion that was spent was on fucking crime ads, and it charted at 11%.
About inflation, and it certainly does impact people. It seems like abortion was a gigantic motivator for Democrats.
And independent women.
Yeah, and we're going to see what happens because you mentioned
Yeah, we're going to see, but I'm so glad he has this job.
radical up the middle. Mandela Barnes is way to the left in Wisconsin. John
And it's a squeaker. It's still like a 30,000 vote difference. It's going to be very tight.
Fetterman is way to the left in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but he won.
Yep.
Adam,
Warnock is very.
Warnock is way to the left, pretending that he wasn't in
Then he isn't.
Congress. But listen, right now there's so much to determine. This is why you got to watch throughout the show. Things are changing. Think about Nevada right now.
Okay, I'm thinking about Nevada. I'm in Nevada right now. Yeah, it's going to be very close. I think Cortez Masto will pull it out. It's going to be a squeaker, though.
48-48. Adam Waxel slightly in front. And then you see what's happening in Georgia. We look like we're heading to a runoff. I don't think anyone doubts that. But we'll see what the runoff will mean because you have also in the Senate race, Mark Kelly with his lead, but is shrinking in Arizona.
Nope, Mark Kelly's going to win.
All this is developing throughout our show.
And Warnock's going to win in the runoff.
Well, Florida it's everyone's watching Florida. That was
No, they aren't. You know who's watching Florida? Trump.
interesting, the New York Post cover, the future. So we'll find out if he's going to run for president. We don't know yet if
Of course he is.
President Trump is going to run for president.
It was very telling.
Trump is going to announce an exploratory committee to look into. That's what's going to happen. Trump is going to go, tonight I'm glad to announce that I'm going to launch an exploratory committee because it's too early in the cycle to officially announce. So I am launching an exploratory committee to see if you guys want me to run, go to Save America Pact and donate today, and that will help us know. Think of it as a poll. It's like a big poll. And I will be polling you for the next 7 months until I have bled you dry of every dime you fucking can pass through me. And then I will tell you I'm not going to run and just be the godfather of the Republican Party because he can't win. He cannot win. He cannot win the national race. He can't, after the polling shit the rug so bad on the midterms, the polls that tell him that he's ahead of DeSantis or even against Biden, especially now, aren't going anywhere.
In that soundbite we ran
filing.
with Ron DeSantis, they were chanting 2 more years. Clearly, those people are thinking.
Yet clearly those people aren't sure why they voted for him.
He's going to the White House.
Well, and Marco
At least
Rubio,
try.
first Republican in Florida to win a third 6-year term.
Yeah.
He was outraised and outspent by Val Demings. As you mentioned, Rubio won re-election by more than 16 points.
Well, Francis Suarez is somebody people are saying he's such a great mayor in Miami. They're saying don't be surprised if he runs for president. He's joining us in about 20 minutes.
Oh, that's it. That's just them. I'm shocked.